start maybe a few seconds early since we've had a quorum. I'm gonna call the October 21st, 2025 mental health
Here.
Ms. Howe? Here. Mr. Lambert?
Here.
Ms. Mendoza-Locke?
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez? Mr. Salas?
Here.
Major White?
Here. We'd like to recognize our visitors, taking out time here to join us today. Again, with Richard, you switched seats on me, Richard, you're usually over in the other corner.
And Kelly D. and from the Thomas Mercer and from the team of Thomas. Julie Rupp, Melbourne staff. Amy Burkmeyer, Ford staff. Scott Kelly Russell, TBD.
And would you like to be recognized as a visitor? You just sat down.
I'm Jennifer Ford staff.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll move on to determination of items to be removed from the consent agenda. Let's begin with, I'm gonna go through the list. If anyone wants to remove this, let me know. Number 5, trustee meeting minutes from September 16th, 2025. 6 is the P&O committee report, October 7th, 2025. Let's begin with A, the treasurer's report from May and June fiscal year 2025 financial statements. Treasurer's report, July and August fiscal year 2026 financial statements. 2026 Lucas County calendar year budget for Mental Health Recovery Services Board. Now, it's hard to tell, D and E, are they both
Yeah, they should have zeros or
next to them? Okay.
both of them. That looks
So
like there's a-
6D, Ohio Department of Behavioral Health Problem Gambling Funds Allocation. And 6E, the Health Officer Designations. Okay, with no request for removal, Susan, if the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So second.
Second.
Well, we have a couple, I think.
Okay.
One Susan, okay. Okay, all right, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the roll call vote, please.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Ms. Crockett?
Yes.
Dr. Elhai? Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Reverend Gordon?
Yes.
Ms. Harding?
Yes.
Ms. Howe? Yes. Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza-Locke?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Salas?
Yes.
Major White?
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. We'll move on then to Elijah, who's gonna talk to us about the Ohio Department of Behavioral Health System of Care grant.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. If you can turn to your packets, page 23. We have a pretty exciting opportunity. You may remember from our yearly purchasing plan, we typically get an allocation from the Department of Department of Behavioral Health for our system of care grant that we allocate to Task of Northwest Ohio for their program that works with the youth detention facilities in Ohio. So that program has been going on for about a decade, and we would get that allocation year after year. This year, the department decided to RFP it. So they put a request out for proposals to boards to redo the program and expand. So it was a competitive application process, but we decided to work with TASK to go for that. And we were one of the about 8 boards that were awarded the money. So this program is a system of care grant. We received $250,000 to expand TASK work with the Department of Youth Facilities. So this program will take a case manager who will do some mentoring while the Lucas County youth are in the facilities, and work with them once they come out of the facility to make sure they have their needs met. It'll include some youth and family peer support, some education and training, and connecting up to different services. This task really led the work on writing this grant proposal. So really, congratulations to them. So this motion is to accept the award from the department, and then to allow Scott to issue an agreement to this effect. So we're anticipating serving at least 60 youth this fiscal year.
Are there any questions for Elijah?
The only question I had, Elijah, is it wasn't clear to me what the expansion is, like what more are we gonna be doing?
Yeah, so previously, we had a little less than half of this amount, and it really just went to pay for one staff person who would drive throughout Ohio to go to these facilities. So we're increasing staff, adding peer support, and solidifying partnerships to really create more of a system of care instead of this one person just going and doing phenomenal work. And that's really valued by the GYS, but now we're adding some more components, that peer support, who will be also working with their families as well.
This is just for kids who are BYS, not kids local, no, locally and facility local.
Not our local detention center, just for GYS facilities.
Any other questions? Not the chair will to approve the motion that appears on a path of page 23. A second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Arnold?
Abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Sustain.
Ms. Crockett?
Yes.
Dr. Eldai? Yes. Ms. Friedman? Dr. Gordon?
Yes.
Ms. Harding? Yes.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza Locke?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Salas?
Yes.
Major White?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, Elijah, you're going to cover also for us out of county placement allocation.
Yeah, so, this motion probably was a little unusual to you, because we don't typically have clients that are placed in the county. However, we do on occasion when circumstances arise that are very atypical. So we have a need to place a client, a Lucas County resident in Stark County. So, not to get into too many details, but he's currently at Department of Behavioral Health Care, which is the equivalent of Northwest Ohio Behavioral Health Care in Stark County. He with a group home that involved a person. Either our state hospital or Stark County can find a suitable placement for him that will accept it. So they did find a placement at a facility called Illinois that is highly recommended. They see a lot of great outcomes. It is owned and operated by a registered nurse with experience in working at the state hospital. So we are recommending that, you know, this placement continues. He will have some funds to help support him in that placement. However, there's concerns with the federal shutdown and getting all those funds in place while he's coming out of the state hospital system. So we've been working with the hospitals to really explore all our options, working with the Stark County Board to establish a board-to-board agreement so he remains a Lucas County resident, which are typical things. We deal with board-to-board agreements very frequently because a lot of counties send their residents here. On the flip side, though, we don't have a lot of experience sending clients out of county. But Stark County is in agreement. He'll remain a Lucas County resident. And so this placement, though, is $2,800 a month. So it's quite expensive. Again, he will have the financial means to support him, to support that placement there. So this is not an ongoing request. You'll see in the motion, there's two motions. We're recommending first that we use some of our access to wellness funding that goes to support people in the community, asking for the ability to contract directly with Villa Maria to pay for up to 2 months' rent. And that contract would just expire at the end of December of 2025. And then, depending on how everything works out with benefits, there might become a time when Stark County will have to provide some treatment services that aren't covered by those benefits because they've been exhausted. So we're requesting an allocation that would allow Stark County, their board, to bill us directly for those treatment services up to $5,000. Now, there's not a typical need to bill that, so it's kind of just in case that would be used. We're still trying to verify, you know, what all funds can be available, so we might not even need this additional contract with Villa Maria, but we got pulled into kind of helping identify a plan for him kind of late in the game, and they're getting ready to discharge. He's been at Heartland since July, and we found out about him about 2 weeks ago. So, and you'll see those two motions to that effect on the top of page 24.
So it's a suggestion that we take the motion together. Questions?
So wait, I got lost.
So is there a long-term plan or are we helping with the short-term plan? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we're
I'm.
helping with the short-term plan,
Uh-huh,
and when his benefits kick in, he won't have to pay anything additional unless his benefits are exhausted.
okay,
He'll have to pay for some treatment costs.
okay.
But again, that's just kind of if that happens.
Right.
So the treatment cost, if benefits are exhausted, is what's contained in the second.
Yes.
And it's coming here because there's a fund in place that will cover,
He's
The
a
short
Lucas
term.
County resident, so we're responsible for him.
okay, got it.
But the state hospital does have potential other sources of funding that can support his stay
Okay.
there until those benefits kick in.
Okay.
They're trying to see what they can get right now.
Sure.
This is just a question. The motion says not to exceed, so third person, that should not through up to including, or does that, am I being just overly concerned about some things?
I think you're being overly concerned. We don't want to set, we need all of his team to work on getting his benefits. So we're not extending this agreement past the end of the year. He's ready to discharge now. And so we want to kind of get this funding in place so he can get to his placement at Villa Maria.
The contract termination date will be December 31st.
Yeah.
If we don't do this, he's out of the street.
Yes.
I think they will exact their funds out of us one way or another. Remember, residency does not change when you are placed in the state hospital or placed in a group home. So we are all responsible, our board is statutory responsible for that individual.
This was effective in arson. Was anybody else displaced by this arson?
Oh, this arson happened a while ago. I'm not sure.
And so if they're both together, the exposure we get is 10,600.
So there's two different agreements here. One is directly with Villa Maria for the residential placement, and the other is with the Stark County Board for treatment services.
And the 5,000 is for access to the wellness fund, so it's not local levy funds like the 5,600 would be. If that's helpful.
Okay.
So the short answer is yes, your exposure is 10.6.
Any other questions or discussion for Elijah? If not, the chair will entertain the motions appearing at the top.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Crockett,
Yes.
Dr. Alhide. Yes. Ms. Friedman. Yes. Reverend Gordon,
Yes.
Ms. Hardy. Yes. Ms. Howe. Yes. Mr. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez. Yes. Mr. Salas,
Yes.
Major Moore. Yes.
Motion carries. We'll move on to the Mental Health Recovery Services Board Strategic Planning Services request for proposal selection and speed.
On pages 24 and 25 of your packet, there's a proposed motion. Before I go forward and describe any more of it, there is a correction to the motion. The total FY 2026 professional services miscellaneous administrative budget line figure should be $3,097,906. It's embarrassing to say as the individual who runs the technology department, it didn't save when I updated the figure.
Steve, say that number
it
again,
again.
please.
$3,097,906.
$1,006.
$906, yes, 906, it's
3097's 906.
Correct. Yes. I didn't want to do it that way.
That's the way I have to do it, so.
Okay.
Again, my apologies for the error. On August 18th, 2025, MHRSB released its Strategic Planning Services Request for Proposal, developed to solicit organizations to facilitate the updating of the board's current 3-year 2023 to 2025 strategic plan for the next 3 years to cover 2026 through 2028. This Strategic Planning Services RFP sought interested parties with expertise in developing a process and product that incorporates strategies, priorities, and tactics to further the board's vision and mission. The expertise of skilled facilitators was considered to be critical to help guide the board through the crucial planning process. As a little bit of background, every 3 years, the board engages in a process to update its strategic plan. making it more agile and responsive to both current and potential future operational environments. In October of 2022, MHRSB began developing a 3-year equity-embedded strategic plan. When the current 2023 to 2025 strategic plan was written, the discussion was focused around 5 priority areas. Priority area 1 was organizational development. Priority area 2 was strengthening the service delivery system. Priority area 3 was equity in action. Priority area 4 was technological infrastructure. And priority 5 was outreach and engagement. The 2023 to 2025 strategic plan was created in 2022 to establish the overarching strategic vision for the next 3 years and set strategic priorities for this timeframe. The strategic plan to be developed for the upcoming 3 years, 26 to 28, will incorporate strategies, priorities, and tactics to further the board's vision and mission in the current operational fiscal environment. It was considered critical that this planning effort would require the expertise of skilled facilitators with experience in government and funding expertise to allow the board to investigate all potential areas of benefit. On October 14th, 2025, MHRSB's Strategic Planning RFP Committee completed its review of the 23 strategic planning proposals. And I'm going to take a brief moment. When we did this 3 years ago, we had 6. When we did it a year and a half before, 2 years before that, we had 5. This was a very large undertaking. There were a number of organizations that applied. After careful deliberation by the review committee, followed by review and approval by MHRSB's executive director, the strategic planning proposal submitted by Health Management Associates, Inc., HMA, was selected for approval by the MHRSB board. The HMA team's direct experience in state government roles, particularly within behavioral health and Medicaid agencies, provides a solid foundation for understanding Ohio's interconnected system. This includes the rules and responsibilities of the Alcohol and Drug Addiction and Mental Health Services Boards, behavioral health providers, delivery systems, public payers of behavioral health services, and essential partnerships with stakeholders, trade associations, and advocacy organizations. The following motion is recommended for consideration by the Board of Trustees. Mental Health and Recovery Services Board of Lucas County approves increasing the FY 2026 Professional Services Miscellaneous Administrative Budget by $80,700, 80700, making the total administrative budget $3,097,906 to contract with Health Management Associates, Inc., HMA, for the purchase of consulting services to facilitate the updating of the board's current strategic plan, and to allow the board authorizes the executive director to execute a contract with Mental Health Management Association, HMA, to that effect.
So the question was, how much is the actual contract for? It's the $80,700. This $3 million is our total administrative budget. We increased the administration budget so that we can pay the contract.
Okay. Questions?
We actually did a cost projection for this strategic plan. We got a planned budget in mind.
An approximate budget, yes, sir, we did. $70,000 to $80,000 was the discussion, and was the budgeted area.
And again, I might have missed it. Where is this organization located? Where is it based at?
The actual corporate headquarters is in Okemos, Michigan, if I'm pronouncing it properly, with team members located here in Ohio in the Columbus and Dayton areas.
Thank you.
Can you give us just a real broad, high-level overview? You said they've worked with Medicaid and government agencies.
Sure. The 3 primary principles that will be working, that are basically the 3 primary leads for the effort, are Angie Bergerford, who was a former Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services leader. Angie has in-depth experience and knowledge of Ohio's behavioral health system. She worked on developing behavioral health and Medicaid policy specifically at it. And I'm going to apologize, it's been Ohio Moss for quite a while, and I know it's changed. But, so, at Ohio Moss. Lauren Anthis is also, he's an Ohio-based strategic communications. He was a legislative development specialist and quality improvement individual who's worked for about 20 years and has a significant amount of time having worked with Medicaid at the state level. And Katie Stevens actually worked for the Ohio Department of Medicaid. She's the third principal who will be working on this for approximately 15 years and was Medicaid service provision and Medicaid for behavioral health entities in the state. So they have, I think, 45 years, 50 years of experience having worked with this system specifically for strategic planning as well as funding sources from the federal to the state and then down to the behavioral health boards at our level.
Do we anticipate that our strategic planning process will be similar to what has been at least in the past year? Where we, as a board, we do some work on it, we conduct community groups, we have focus groups around the community.
Yes, that the intent is to a degree replicate what has been performed the last 6 years with a focus primarily on updating what we currently have. And the methodology that was used previously will also be provided to the agency that has been selected for review. They'll probably tweak some of the methodologies that are used and also reflect the current status of federal funding and a number of other issues that are obviously ongoing. But yes, the overarching methodology is going to replicate what the board has done previously, successfully, by the way.
When we talked about this a couple of meetings ago, Scott cautioned us before we get this excessive number, this pool, this wonderful pool of applicants, that there were some areas of expertise and specific skill sets. And I take it, just looking quickly at the scoring here, that the committee felt that they've got the skill sets that Scott mentioned to us that would be prudent and necessary to.
Let me handle that question,
okay,
since Scott
okay.
said it.
Okay, okay.
So, I'm gonna,
Is my question clear?
I know what you're asking, but I
Okay,
want
all right.
everybody to know what you're
Okay,
asking.
all right.
My previous comments led us to the discussion of what do we do about our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging activities in our, how do they transform? And the idea is that within the strategic planning process, we need to have a collective discussion about what we need to do next. Do we need to transform our efforts? Do we need to rebrand it? What do we need to do? I will tell you that there is more expertise sitting around this table in relation to health equity than my guess is we will find in any third-party vendor. But in particular, the question is related to Health Management Association. They are able to lead that conversation, but they are not the subject matter experts on DEI and B. That'll be us, and I think that'll be sufficient. But nonetheless, we have what I think is probably a better idea to address that. Michael and I, Michael, Dr. Carter and I and Steve, we were bouncing around this idea of our strategic plan obviously needs to address issues of DEI and B. But you think about when we're gonna come together, we're gonna come together for maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days. That's probably about 10 hours of conversation. Of which maybe only 2 of it would be related to our DEI and B efforts. That's probably not enough to give it enough context and consideration. Plus, we have not updated our equity and action plan since 2020. So our conversation led to, we should we should consider recommending a secondary but ancillary process just specifically for DEI and B, with the intent of updating our equity and action plan. And you know, we can still have the discussion about how we want to move forward in strategic planning, but then link that to a secondary process. We would have those funds available within our health equity budget to do that. I don't even think it would take an RFP to do it, but I do think that given our interest and our investment in health equity, it really deserves a time of its own. So that's where we were planning to move the DEI and B discussion.
Questions from anyone else?
I was part of that last meeting, and a lot of our conversation was about and I like the idea of taking it and making it a separate but linked conversation. You know, I don't know if it's bringing, you know, another consultant in just to work just on that, because it was a very lively, everybody engaged, you know, we were on Zoom most of the time. I think a couple times we did get to meet in person before the shutdown, but we were on Zoom and it was really in depth. And I believe that's why it's been so successful, is because it was so in depth.
You know, if you think about the environment now, we're in an entirely different environment than since 2020. Dr. Carter, you want to make any comments related to the idea?
Yeah, Scott and I talked earlier, we were just talking about, you know, post-COVID world living and where we are as far as DEI, what types of things. An hour to 2 hours wasn't going to be strong enough for us to cover the traditional DEI conversation. And then to have conversations as it relates to DEI and technology, for example. And when we say technology, we're talking systemic bias when it comes to ChatGPT. You don't know what words to put in there, for example, you will not get the right output as it relates to minorities, because the system wasn't built. So you have to understand how that works, what it looks like, and that it exists. And so being able to have that type of conversation as we're looking at technology, as we're looking at how do we move the system forward in the 21st century with all of the advancements that are in front of us, we should give it ample conversation to be able to have conversation that looks at everybody within our community. That's going to be more than an hour as well, especially just on that conversation alone. We begin to talk about bias areas that are advancing, yet we don't fully understand.
Any other comments?
If there aren't any, then Chair would entertain a motion that appears at the bottom of 2024.
So moved. Second. Second.
Need for no further discussion. Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Crockett?
Yes. Dr. Elhai? Yes. Ms. Friedman?
Yes?
Reverend Gordon?
Yes.
Ms. Harding? Yes. Ms. Howe? Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza-Locke?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Salas?
Yes.
Major White? Yes.
Motion carries. Move to the director's
Moment you guys have all been waiting.
Right.
The entertainment is here. So let me, I have 4 things that I really want to talk about today. First, I want to give you an update on Danny's Place. We are in the final stages of the lease agreement. We think we have agreement in principle. It's just being checked by some of the legal. And we hope to have that executed. We haven't heard from the Department of Behavioral Health regarding any additional funds for operations. That's a little concerning. Just for your knowledge, we have we're planning two separate leases. One, or two separate contracts. One is a lease for the property, the other is operational because there's more parties related to the operations than the lease itself. We remain hopeful that we'll get some additional funds to buy down those bed day costs. But we are proceeding as if we might get nothing this quarter or this half or this fiscal year. So at this point, we're really looking at residents sometime around January. And we will be coming to you probably next month. Well, it will be next month with an extension of the current startup agreement that we have with Unison, no cost extension through the current calendar year. So we've already allocated 400,000, 100,000 each month for, I guess it would have been whatever that period was. I think it ends October 30th, so we're really talking about extension another 2 months. I guess it would have been July, August, September, October. We're really talking about extension of 2 months using existing funds. So finally, they are also hosting another open house on October 28th from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Jeff and Donna Heck will be in town. We're going to bring some of their 33 Forever friends with them, as well as a number of other folks that will likely be there. Unison is entirely running this one. We're showing up and smiling and saying hi to folks. But the facility is looking very nice. It's rounding out. Unison is doing a fantastic job. Again, that date is October 28th, 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's starting to look like a home. Before we saw the shell, we saw a few mattresses. Now you got bedspreads, you got knickknacks on you got silverware, you got cups, you got plates, you got pans, you got all that stuff that makes a home a home. So stop by and yes, sir.
I should know the answer to this, but Danny's Place, is it categorized as a recovery house or a treatment center?
It will be categorized as a class 1 residential unit as well as an outpatient treatment center that have dual certification. Okay, any questions on it? All right, moving on. Well, some good news. You all have spent a lot of time helping us prepare for our Culture of Quality peer survey. That was actually done on Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, the 14th and 15th. Here to report, survey went very, very well. We were aware of a single finding going into the survey. We were willing to acknowledge that, yep, we're going to get this as a finding. I actually spoke about it in one of my director's reports. Lo and behold, they found that finding, and they will make mention of it in a report that that we do not have a current medical director. Other than that, not anything else. So that is really good. In contrast, 3 years ago, when we went through this, we had 3 findings. We were able to rectify the 2, and of course, we knew the one going in. So that was very strong preparation. Thank you to Julie Ruck, who's in the audience today. Wave your hand, Julie. You know her as our manager of evaluation and what's the other? Quality. Thank you. She coordinated our response. Wendy and Susan helped with the administrative tasks, but really all the staff members had a role, and you guys had a role in making sure that we presented high quality applications. So thank you all very, very much. Yes, it went very well. Congratulations to these guys. They handled it. just showed up, no. So there's a couple of things going on that, I'm gonna make you aware of one thing that's it's just a radar, just put it on the radar right now. There's a lot of other things on our radar, but this is one of them. It just emerged last week. State Representative Josh Williams introduced House Bill 515. This bill proposes to amend Ohio Revised Code sections 340.02C and 340.036C4. You guys are aware that 340 is our authorizing legislation. So the proposed changes to 340.02C, I'm just gonna read you the changes. So the membership of the board, nearly as possible, should reflect the current language is composition of the population of the service district as to race and sex. That's the current language. The proposed changes shall reflect political party preferences of the population of the service district based on state and federal partisan general election results in the service district during the last 10 years. I'm gonna let that sink in a little bit.
You don't have to.
We get it.
Moving on then. 304.036C4, the current language, the board may contract with a government entity, for-profit entity, or nonprofit entity. Any such entity may be faith-based. That's the current language. The additional language proposed is no board shall deny a contract to or refuse to contract with a for-profit entity or nonprofit entity, including a faith-based entity, based solely on the entity's for-profit or nonprofit status. I'm not looking for a reaction. I don't think we should react. This is very new. It has been assigned to committee, the Children and Human Services Committee. I can assure you that our state association will be taking a position. I'm sure we will be taking a position, but I think that we should consider all of our, we need to let this sink in. We need to understand the ramifications of if these things go through before we have a response. So I'm just putting it on the radar. I will keep you up to date as needed. It's been assigned a committee. It hasn't been assigned a hearing. It may or may not actually ever even get a hearing. There are no other additional sponsors or co-sponsors. I think we should just probably leave it at that for now. And I will end with something that was rather unique in our behavioral health world that I thought compelled to bring to you guys to have a, just make you aware of it. There was a study recently released and completed by a gentleman named Dr. Thomas Trainer. He's from Wright State University, and he did a study regarding the economic impact of behavioral health in the greater Dayton region. According to the study's abstract, the study calculated comprehensive estimates of all economic impacts of mental illness within the Dayton, Ohio region for 2023. Every cost area within each pathway through which mental illness generates economic impacts was estimated for the region. This was accomplished by using a pre-existing per capita estimates from similar regions and then using economic cost analysis methods to adjust estimates for the region. The dollar values of the economic impacts were categorized into three distinct impacts. Impact on the region's gross domestic product, which by the way, was $12.6 billion. Spending directed to mental health care and physical health care, $3.25 billion. spending related to the community's impact from mental illness, 177.65 million. And that took into effect, since the officer's sitting here, the cost of law enforcement to respond to mental health disorders, the impact on victimization, things like that. And then the economic value of the quality of life impact on premature deaths resulting from mental illness, which was almost $14 billion more. The author concludes that the estimate underscores the urgent need for targeted interventions to support behavioral health, driving sustainable improvements in economic growth and the economic values of quality of life in the region. The productivity impacts estimated provide evidence that supports increased employer investments in mental health screening and early intervention, access to care and recovery, which in turn can improve business productivity, reduce healthcare costs, and support public sector efforts to make similar investments. So this was, you don't see many studies like this that look at the dollar. If you remember when we did our DEI and B case, we went to the cost, the business plan for doing this work. That's what this does. And I bring this out because you're about to go into a strategic planning process. And there are the economic and political landscape from the point in time where we've done our previous strategic plan to our next strategic plan is dramatically different, but is still driven by dollars and cents. So we need to think about that, and we need to account for that as we move forward in our strategy process. So with that, I end my director's report. Yes, sir. The greater area, what are the Southeast Hospital Association? Yeah. I think it's the hospital, Southwest Hospital Association. Yeah. And I will send the link out so you guys can see the report. That's it.
Okay. We'll move to open session. Mr. Arnold?
I seem frazzled. I've been in county budget hearings since 9 o'clock this morning. It is not fun. As we speak, City Council is meeting, and once again, they're going to talk about dogs. Specifically, they give $120,000 a year to the county. It's to, I don't know, for Toledo Police Department to work with canine care and control. So once again, Adam Martinez has sprung this on his colleagues, and during agenda review last week, he said he wants to go first reading. Sarantu didn't know about it. Morris didn't know about it. Hobbs didn't know about it, but they will do that. So for at least 2 weeks, they will hold up this. And if you remember last year, he tried to turn this into a zoning issue, and he wanted to zone how many dogs you can have in the zoning and planning. They said we can't do it. So it's back this year. They're going first reading on that tonight. The same guy who's trying to turn rescue into a 52-bed hospital, now he has applied for a special use permit for a used auto facility at the corner of Jackman and Sylvania. And I'm telling you, he's done everything right. He went before the Plan Commission, agreed to 30 stipulations. Nobody showed up to protest. This is a minority-owned business, and yet when they ran into Venice Williams, that's her district, and she says, I want to see something else there. So it'll be probably disapproved tonight. I can tell you, she recommended it to the full council as disapproved. Very rare that anybody votes for something when the council person that's in that district wants it disapproved. So it looks like that probably won't happen. Speaking of cars, this was on the County Commissioners, very crowded agenda this morning, and it shouldn't have been. Apparently, Children's Services Board has a 21-year-old car that they use to transport children that are in their custody. It has seen better days, and so they put it on the agenda today. They would need the County Commissioners' permission to spend $49,000 someplace called Montrose Ford. I asked. I think it's near Cleveland. And they would purchase a brand-new Chrysler Pacifica. Well, there was a guy there, I've never seen him before, he was with Children's Services, he just walked up to the podium and said to the county commissioners, can we table this until after the election? And they said, sure. I'm expressing an opinion here, this looks bad. It looks like Children's Services Board is trying to put one over on the taxpayers. It looks like they're saying, let's put children's safety on hold until it's convenient to talk about. For whatever reason, they will not discuss this until after the election, but they desperately need a new car. It says here they want the county to authorize this and to declare the current car as unfit for county use. Don't know what's going to happen with that. Sticking with Children's Services Board, I've been attending the meetings of this Child Welfare Task Force. It's not going well. They were supposed to wrap up, they started in June, they were supposed to wrap up in November. That is not going to happen. It's probably going to go till next June. They'll have one more meeting in October, one in November, one in December, and then starting in January, 2 a month up until June of next year. I have no idea what they're going to talk about. I guess next summer they'll produce a voluminous report to the county commissioners on all the things they think Children's Services Board needs to do. There's a lot of agendas in that room, and they're going to keep meeting for at least another 8 months, it looks like. I'm not sure what they're going to talk about. Your guess is as good as mine. Let's stick with the county. The budget presentations, they started at 9 this morning. They've been great. Now, that's not saying they're easy to listen to, but they've been great. They heard this morning from Canine Care, Integrated Justice System, Public Defender, but the juvenile court was the one that really caught my attention. They're actually referring to the juvenile detention facility as a mental health facility because of so many kids coming through there with severe, undiagnosed mental health concerns. And they went into just intricate detail about all the funding they receive. And they have to, in order to get certain funding, they have to let this agency decide what foods they will serve and how large the portions will be and stuff like that. And they went on and on and on for, I don't know, about 20 minutes describing all the things that they've done. And when this pool of funding dries up, let's grab this one over here. And then they get to the budget and they want an additional 3.5%. I don't know if they're going to get it. The county commissioners responded the way they always do. Well, we're not going to make that decision today. So these budget hearings continue. The commissioners wanted flat budgets, but it's just not happening. They experienced the same thing last week or 2 weeks ago with the sheriff's department. But they are informative. I would say it's just a whole lot of information about what our county departments are doing to save money and hopefully keep their budgets down and ask for the absolute bare minimum from the county commissioners. So we'll see what happens with that. Bear with me while I share a brief part of this board's history. I think it's relevant. This board was created to bring people out of the state hospital. That law was passed in 1988 and had a 10-year implementation period throughout the 90s. And this board brought people out of that hospital that had been there for decades. They didn't know how to ride a bus, prepare a meal, anything. And during that time, that 10-year period, the Toledo Blade used to beat us up on a regular basis. Now, I know what I'm talking about. I used to run the media watch for the old Boost organization. I used to spend hours at the library reading Cleveland Plain Dealer, Dayton Daily News, Akron Beacon Journal, Cincinnati Enquirer, Columbus Dispatch. I never saw any newspaper that beat up on their local mental health board the way the Blade used to beat us up. Usually about you're bringing violent people out into the community. So, oh, by the way, Thomas Walton was the head of the editorial board at that time. This editorial, it's called The Medicine Does Work. It ran October the 24th, 2000. That's 25 years ago this week. It was in response to the shooting of Dr. Kahn. Briefly, Dr. Kahn was a Unison psychiatrist. He was my psychiatrist, well-liked, well-respected. And in April of '99, he was shot by one of his patients, lapsed into a coma, and eventually passed away September of 2000. This is what the Blade had to say about it. The Lucas County Mental Health Board has not pursued forced medication of psychotic patients schizophrenics, and those with bipolar disease, except for people being treated at the Toledo State Mental Health Hospital. A local psychiatrist is dead as a result, the victim of a psychotic outpatient off medications. What they failed to mention was this guy was on his meds. I know. He, as clearly stated in an earlier editorial in the Blade, he was taking the medications, but he was angry about the side effects. That's what he told the police when they arrested him. He did not kill Dr. Khan because the voices in his head. No, he did it because he was angry about the side effects. So, Thomas Walton has retired, but he writes these guest editorials. He wrote this one August the 18th, 2019. It's called Bearing Witness to Mass Shootings. And it was in response to two mass shootings, one in Dayton and one in El Paso. And what it says is that in November of 1965, as a very young man, he was in a department store. It's called Tops. It was over on Secor Road. And for no reason at all, a man just walked through the aisle, walked up to a woman, and shot her. As he stood over the body, he looked at Tom Walton. They exchanged glances. And Tom Walton said, "I thought I was going to die." The man just poured one more bullet into the woman on the floor. Then he walked off and shot two more women, one of whom was pregnant. And then the store employees jumped on top of him and waited for the police to come. The story goes that he had been released 3 days earlier from Toledo State Hospital. He had no trouble getting his hands on a gun. The woman that he killed was his wife. And what he said when the police arrested him, that he hated all women, he only wanted to kill women. He was found non-competent to stand trial and went to Lima State Hospital, but later was restored to competency. And when he was retried, Tom Walton appeared as a witness, and he was convicted, sent to prison, where he later died. And as I read this guest editorial, I'm thinking to myself, well, this explains a lot. I mean, I wish that the Blade had shared this tidbit of information years earlier when they were beating this board up, demanding that this board force people to take medication. Had they done so, maybe it would have made everybody's life a lot more simple. We could have had constructive dialogue about what's the best way to serve that small population that is violent. Hopefully get to them before they shoot somebody, and that much larger population that's not violent, but they have trouble living in the community. But they didn't. They ran editorials saying, why doesn't this board force people to take medication, which they know this board has no authority to do. But it sounds good to say it in an editorial. So here's my point. Here we are today. We got a president trying to shut down some news organizations because he doesn't like what they're saying. Bias in the new media is a big issue today. So remember, you've got some decisions to make that might not be popular, and you don't know what kind of spin our local news media is going to put on them. But always remember, you've got a good relationship with the media now, but never take that for granted. You could be dealing with personal agendas that you know nothing about. So thank you for listening.